Okay, so my last video on Korean Kaiju was, a long time ago. But let's not worry about that and just get right into more movies. As you can see from the title, we're going to talk about one filmmaker from Korea who made more monster movies than anyone else in the country. Shim Rae, or Rae-Shim as he's sometimes called, and for the sake of this video, I'll be calling him that too. This man is one of the most recognized people in the film and TV industries in South Korea. Ranging from directing, producing, acting, he's done a little bit of it all. Though we're going to be looking into his monster movies, starting with Yonggary and Dinosaur Zuzu. Quite a name for a film. I get Yonggary as a Korean name that has some type of meaning, but to a majority of a Western audience, the title just sounds like a goofy kids film. Also, IMDb has this listed as Princess Zuzu, for some reason. You can actually watch this film on YouTube in 3 parts, which is how I viewed it, though there are no subtitles and the picture quality is decent at best. Though you can definitely tell at times this was ripped right from a VHS. There might be a better quality version out there with subtitles, but I sure as hell couldn't find one. The movie stars a little boy named Yonggary. Yes, this grown man is supposed to be playing a little boy, at least that's what I think. I forgot to mention Rae-Shim's more known for being a comedy writer. Look, if this kind of stuff makes you laugh, good on you. On the other hand, I find it a little disturbing at times. Anyway, Yonggary, while playing hide and seek in a cave, stumbles across a huge egg that hatches. He runs away in terror to school and proceeds to act like this is a normal day. What follows for a while is nothing but filler moments to padding out the runtime. Something good old Ray would do a lot in his movies. Yonggary, while on his way home, sees the dinosaur again, being pummeled with rocks from a group of kids. What kind of mean assholes are these? Gu interferes, befriends the creature he was running away from earlier, and hides him from his parents like he's some stray dog he found on the streets. I forgot to mention this film has bad guys. Just because. They kidnap Yonggary and Zuzu, and yes, I'm calling this thing Zuzu only because one part it says Zuzu. I should also note that's the only time this thing actually speaks anything. Mama Zuzu finally shows up and proceeds to attack the city of Seoul until she finds her baby. Or just stand in the middle of the city. I mean, she seems to really not want to leave this wide open area in the town. Also, she never stops roaring. It gets annoying really fast, and it's not even like a great roar either. Could you imagine a Godzilla movie where he just kept roaring every second he's on screen? The military come at daytime and fire at her while it's nighttime. Also, if you couldn't tell, they're in 2 completely different locations. I am not editing the footage you're seeing here. This is how it was presented. Was there any communication on this movie, or did no one give a shit? I can honestly say that this is one of the worst kaiju movies I have ever bared witness to. It doesn't even feel like a full movie, honestly. You know the basic 3-act structure? If not, think of it like as a beginning, middle, and end to a film. Well, this movie doesn't really have a middle. It just kind of starts and ends. I want to say the writing could have something to do with that, since I couldn't understand the language the characters were saying anyway. The monster effects look awful, and this came out right around the same time the 90s Godzilla movies did. Don't think that's a fair comparison? Well, just look at other Korean kaiju films before it. Even bad movies like Ape look better than this, and that's one hell of a compliment to give that movie. Overall, even if this movie was just a parody of the genre, it still falls flat. Though there was one scene I thought was funny. Anyone ever see Raiders of the Lost Ark? Now that we're done with that crap, let's move on to a movie I'm sure you all know. Oh wait, there was a film called Tyranno's Claw which he directed. Should I really even talk about this film? I mean, it's really a dinosaur picture more than a kaiju one. Then again, I did just talk about a movie called Dinosaur Zuzu, so I guess I just set myself up for that one. When starting this movie, I found out it's a caveman movie. Ugh. Well, if I could say something positive, it's that the caveman makeup actually looks pretty good. If you watch almost any Hollywood-made caveman movie, the actors look like they're just wearing caveman costumes at times. They look too clean at that. Okay, so this movie's about a group of cavemen led by a big bad caveman who one night abuses this cave woman who then gets tied up to be fed by a T-Rex. Yes, this is what they do to people they don't like. But this caveman has the hots for her, so he saves her and both of them run away while being chased by Big Bad's lackeys. Like the last movie, there were no subtitles, but obviously being a caveman movie, there's no language to worry about. What little words they do say are often followed by actions that help you understand what they're talking about, so I'll give credit on that. Also again, filler scenes, just because. Now what about the creature effects, you're wondering? Well, the T-Rex on some close-up shots look okay. The T-Rex itself looks mildly okay. Every other dino though, I wish I could say I've seen worse. Though I did enjoy the Pachycephalosaur scenes, especially when it gets into a slapstick fight with the caveman. I think the movie really could have benefited from more scenes like this, but sadly the movie itself takes itself a little too serious. Overall, this movie was okay. It has an easy to understand plot with some fun moments here and there. I'd watch it any day over Dinosaur Zuzu, but that's not saying much. Our next movie is one called Dragon Tuka, Rae-Shim's take on the tokusatsu genre. I wasn't originally going to count this, but admittedly I was a little curious on it, and I've got to say, this movie is incredible. I don't even know how to summarize the plot. Again, I went in without subtitles, but I could still kind of understand what was going on. This silver helmet alien guy is threatening this village with his pet dragon Tuka, who is a mother of 5. These robo-ninja looking guys show up and simply want to stop him. There's also zombies who can jump on walls like Spider-Man, there's big evil rock monsters, possessed trees like in Evil Dead, and Yonggary. Yeah, no joke, it's the same character from the first movie. I failed to note earlier that this character is played by Rae-Shim himself, who also played him in other projects he worked on. I don't know what this character meant to him, I didn't really look that deep into it, but I like to think of it like Jim Varney's portrayal of Ernest in his own set of films. There's no overarching story or anything like that, it's just a guy getting caught in crazy predicaments. Anyway, Yonggary is a pizza clerk in this movie, and you might be wondering if I'm showing two different movies given the time periods don't match. Well, the battles are taking place in the past, whereas the scenes at the pizza place are set in present day. A mysterious wizard just shows up here and takes Yonggary back to the past so he can save the threatened village. Okay, for one, was this guy on crack during his travel? Out of any possible person he could have grabbed, pro wrestler or martial arts expert, his vision of a savior is a pizza clerk, an incompetent one at that. Second, why Yonggary? The moment he gets to the past, his body gets possessed by the robo-aliens, whom the other one takes possession of one of the villagers. These are the good guys here, so they're not harming them, they're just borrowing their bodies to blend in. But let's look at the worm in the apple here. If they can take possession of anyone's body, then why the hell was Yonggary necessary? The music sounds like a butchered Mortal Kombat theme. I mean, it's okay, it just loops way too much. In fact, I think it's the only piece of music in the entire film. It gets used in every battle scene, and it's even used for the end credits. Overall, this is an incredibly fun film. There are some moments that might make your eyes daze off, but the crazy action and unpredictable moments will grab you right back in. Our next film is one Mr. Shim's probably best known for infamous reasons, and at one point it was even the most expensive film in Korea at the time, that being the 1999 remake of Yonggary. Actually, it's more of a reimagining if anything, as the only connection to the original film is the name. Now, if you're like me and you saw this at a young age, you probably remember the picture being really good, until you grow up, watch it now, and wondering how damaged your head was back then. Yonggary is infamously known for its outdated CGI and bad acting.
You're my creation! I made you!
Yeah, there is some truth to that, but is it a bad film overall? Well, the story's about a giant creature whose remains have been discovered. Aliens use their laser to revive the creature and use it to do whatever they want. I'm guessing the aliens want to conquer the Earth, of course. After losing control of Yonggary, they send their other monster down to do battle with it. There are some things I skimmed over, but overall the film doesn't really have a complex plot like that. In fact, I think even a child could watch this and not lose track on what's going on. The actors feel like they went to acting school and graduated the same day. It's over-the-top acting completed with cheesy dialogue in a lot of scenes, and it just really adds to this film's enjoyability.
Damn. This place is turning into a freaking prehistoric petting zoo.
In terms of the creatures, I think they look okay. The designs aren't bad, especially the uniqueness in Psychor's case. If I can give one complaint, it's that the color schemes of both kaiju look very dull. The CGI is definitely not aged well, most CG from the early years haven't. Yonggary has major size inconsistencies, and he really doesn't feel like he has any weight to him whenever he just jumps around so smoothly. Suits were made for the film, but never went used, though there are some minor scenes in the movie that did end up using them. I should mention it now that the original cut of the film from 1999 has never been viewed since its theatrical run. When Rae-Shim and his team re-released the film in 2001, he pulled a George Lucas and added more stuff to the film that wasn't there to begin with, thus giving us the reptilian cut, as I like to call it, only because when this movie was finally released up here in North America, it was given the name Reptilian. This 2001 upgraded version, which is the one we're all familiar with, supposedly has a different story and better CGI, which is interesting to note. Though after watching the great fan-made documentary called the Yonggary Chronicle Project, we could see even more scenes from the 99 version, and these do look pretty bad. Interestingly, the suits might have been used more for this version as well. Now the question is, what made this film so endearing to us back then? If I had to guess anything, it was probably just the timing. In an era where we used to see kaiju movies where it was guys in suits beating on each other, a movie where the monsters were CG creatures was kind of a breath of fresh air. Yeah, there were movies before this one, and even the bigger name brands used CG here and there. But the fact that it was a brand new movie with a kaiju battle that looks so different from what we've seen before was unique. Nowadays, CGI monster battles are everywhere, and if you compare this to something like King of the Monsters, it's no competition which one looks better. But that's like comparing a professional artist's work to that of their art when they were 10. It's not really a fair comparison per se. It was something new for its time, and honestly the movie as a whole isn't as bad as the majority of people make it out to be. It's schlocky fun with corny dialogue, and it's not meant to be taken serious, even if the movie is trying to be serious. I'd honestly watch a film like this any day over a bad film that takes itself overly serious, which unfortunately is our next contender. Our final film of the video is Dragon Wars, released in 2007 worldwide. Yes, Dragon Wars is Rae-Shim's first and currently only film to be given a worldwide theatrical release. And once again at the time, it was the most expensive film in South Korea on a budget of $35 million, and grossing over $99 million at the box office, making it a financial success. Which was also about to get a sequel, but more on that later. Rae-Shim has definitely come a long way from when he started. Truly, you could say an inspiration to one of many. But the film still sucks. Which is hard for me to say considering that this was a passion project of Shim's, one that made him cry twice while filming. To be fair, there are some decent moments here and there. The film as a whole though is just a mess. So our main lead here, Ethan, was told at a young age by some old guy whom he never met that Ethan himself is the reincarnation of a Korean prince, and that one day the reincarnation of the princess will be in danger upon her 19th birthday. And he'll have to help her to save the world because the big bad man is evil. And he believes this all the way right into adulthood. Can you see a problem here already? The flashbacks of Korea are actually really beautiful to look at. There's some really nice colors and visual moments here. But then the dragons attack and the movie goes downhill from here. The cast themselves are really boring. None of these characters have any sense of a personality whatsoever. At least in Yonggary, the acting was so bad it was funny.
Who else is qualified to handle the Hellraiser?
Here, it's just stilted, boring, overly serious. Oh, and this is how our big bad guy gets introduced. The monsters themselves are all CG, and besides the imago in some cases, they all look really bad. The main dragon looks okay, and honestly I'm surprised no one's used this thing to go, Amanda confirmed in the Monsterverse. What makes this movie bad for me is just the lack of any personality. Everything gets taken way too serious. Random moments and characters just appear out of nowhere so our main characters can have something to go off of. Scenes happen that are flashbacks, dreams, I don't know, it's so confusing. The Imago Dragon just pops in and out of nowhere at random times. And of course, Rae-Shim can't help but add in those random filler scenes. You lousy bum! The highlight scene for me is the battle in LA. It doesn't really have a purpose, nor an ending for that matter. It's just a really cool scene to watch. Overall, Dragon Wars may have been a financial hit, but it's just not a fun film to watch. Oh, and about that sequel, well, given this was Rae-Shim's passion project, it comes to no surprise he'd want to do some type of follow-up to it. The film was a co-production with China, which supposedly contributed $77 million to the film's budget, titled D-Wars 2: The Mysteries of the Dragon. According to this article on the film, it depicts a fictional war between the US and Russia as they race to land the first man on the moon. Okay? That has to do what now with the dragons? Filming supposedly began in 2016, and the finished movie was to be released in 2017. Obviously, we're way past those years now, and the movie still hasn't come out. So I can only guess that they quietly canceled the film. And really, I couldn't care less. Well, that's all of Mr. Shim's monster movies. Some interesting, and some definitely not. If I could say anything about him, it's that he can definitely get a film out there despite the odds being against him. And the movies he puts out probably look a lot better in his head than what he actually puts out. Thanks for sticking to the end, and I'll see you next time.
용가리 한번 잡아볼까? 짠.
닭다리살로 만든 용가리 치킨.
맛있어도 문제네.
무시무시하게 맛있는 용가리 치킨.
맛있군.